Hello, I am Deb Andrews, president and founder of Marketri.
And I'm Brady Lewis, Senior Director of AI Innovation at Marketri.
Welcome to Candid Conversations, AI and Marketing Unscripted. I think this is our fourth or fifth episode. And just for anyone who hasn't tuned in before, it's legitimately unscripted candid conversations Brady and I have weekly, and we are just inviting you in to hear some of the things that are on our mind at the point where marketing and AI intersect. Our first topic today is a big one, actually. It's entitled Something Big is Going to Happen. Many of you might have heard already about this essay that was published by a gentleman named Matt Schumer, and it's been viewed over 85 million times on X. And basically, what this essay, I have not read the whole thing, it's rather long, but the gist of it is that he equates the moment that we are in as far as the evolution to AGI to the moment in February 2020 when folks were like, right, starting to hear about COVID, but didn't really have any idea of what this thing was really going to be. And he thinks that is the moment right now where we are sort of in our AI journey. So, when I think back to that time, February 2020, you're right, didn't have a clue. And a month later, we can only imagine like how everyone's world was completely turned upside down. Brady, do you think that's happening a month from now?
Mm, I think that is a stretch. I think that there are multiple levels to this. I definitely agree that there is a massive change that is under the surface for most people. Um, the vast majority of people are just now figuring out what ChatGPT is and how to go on there and ask it to put together a recipe. Underneath the public layer, or when you get into the tech and stuff, what is already happening and the rate at which it's improving is what's truly mind-blowing. And a lot of the progress that's happening, that's getting people to say things like this article says, is the technical pieces behind it, because the technical pieces are what allow the front end users to do all kinds of crazy, insane, awesome new stuff. But the tech behind it, that's where the real improvements are happening. And so, as marketers, we think about things like, is the new model going to be able to sound like a human more? We're looking at the outputs. The progress is really being made in things like the models being better at using tools and being better at orchestrating and being able to work for long periods of time autonomously. And that translates into all of the capabilities that we can do on the front end. So when you go to ChatGPT now and you can connect Slack and have it send, from Claude to Slack a message, or vice versa, that's because of the tech behind the scenes that has been created, like MCPs, model context protocols. These ways that the LLMs can now have access to tools, have access to memory. These technical pieces are what is really driving the capabilities on the front end. So if you're in deep in the tech stuff, like, you see all of the crazy things and all of the insanely fast progress that is happening. I think that it's going to be slower on the front end. And if us tech people are good, you won't necessarily know every single new thing that's happening. It just becomes an easy interaction for you. That's our goal. We don't want you to have to know what's going on in the tech side. So I do think that there is this massive tech that 99% of people don't have a clue about how it's working. But I don't think that that person is also going to have a life-changing moment in the next month.
Yeah, it does seem like a little drastic to say it's the equivalent of COVID, but I think what spurred Matt Schumer on was the release of Opus 4.6
Mhm.
and perhaps the release of um, another one as well. But I think he specifically cited that one. And for us, we're big Claude users and we already were in love with the tool, and then add on 4.6 and it's just so much better. It does so much with very little context. And I know prompting is still very important, but it seems to really just understand the nuances and the context in which you're working. And it's just so super smart that it's not a heavy lift to get it to do what you need it to do. And I think that was kind of the impetus for this, is that he had this moment where he's like, I don't have to be at my desk anymore. Like, it's going to run, it's going to work. I'm going to come back and I don't even have to fix it. It's just done. And so, are you feeling like you're experiencing that more with what you see with Claude and other tools where it's coming back with like near perfect first drafts?
Yeah, it's getting much, much better at that. And from a tech side, these new models are huge to me because I do a lot of development with Claude models. And the new Sonnet 4.6 that they put out is, it scores better than, or at least on par with Opus 4.5, and it's quicker and cheaper than Opus. And Opus 4.6 takes it up another notch. And the when a new model is released, the benchmarks that they use are always coding and scientific, because those are the complex, difficult things that also open up the opportunities for everything else. So, you are the progress that's being made with like an Opus 4.6 is the things that I was talking about. It knows how to orchestrate tool use and subagents, and can spawn subagents to do tasks in parallel and keep everything on track. And so that leads to people like me being able to create better applications, which leads to other people that are not in the tech side being able to use these applications that do all of these wild things without you having to know what it's doing behind the scenes. So I'm thrilled to death with all of the new models. They keep getting better every time. We get new models every couple of months, and when you see that progress, I've been watching it
It's like a
for
rush.
years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, yes, I can see how we went from here to here in 2 years. So in the next 2 years, it's going to exponentially increase, because AI is a self-propeller. You can use AI to improve AI. And so the rate of progress from here on out is just going to be like we've never seen before.
Exponential.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe his blog post, something big has happened or happening. I mean, it is happening and will continue to happen. And maybe maybe it came across as being a little bit fear mongering,
Yeah.
people be afraid. But in the end, I do think if people have not started to use AI, especially white collar workers in their daily work streams, I do feel like they're going to be at a big disadvantage. We've talked about this in previous episodes of like, maybe we're like, it's not too late. I mean, it is not too late, but because it is going so much faster that if you don't have those fundamental skills, it's just not going to be part of your everyday. Like for me, like I'd say it's like brushing my teeth every day. I'm in the different tools. Usually I'm in Claude doing it, and it is part of my everyday work. I mean, I'm constantly in it for various things. And that happened over time. It used to be I would pick it up maybe once a day and then twice a day. And now it's just fluid. And it takes a while to get to that point where it really is like, okay, now I know what works for me, what doesn't work, how to use this. And sometimes I love sharing with you what I've discovered or done, and you're such a good cheerleader for me, and you're like so proud of me for like using AI in different ways, and I'm so lucky to have you as a cheerleader. But everyone really needs to be experimenting like that now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not too late, but we are. I won't lie. We are in a period where the people that are doing it right now will likely have an extended, um, you know, path that the rest of the people aren't going to catch up to. If you took somebody like you or somebody like me and put them up against somebody who is using ChatGPT for the first time and watch this over the next year, it would be a tremendous difference, because you have to go through that process of learning how to use these tools, just as you know. And you start with simple prompts and you get a feel like, okay, that's cool. It can write me an email. That's great. but then you quickly start realizing how to use it as a tool in your daily workflow. And you start creating workflows, pipelines, automations. You start taking more and more of your tasks and figuring out how AI can do them and linking them together so it does it all cohesively and seamlessly. And that's really where you start to not only save a lot of time, but you start producing really good quality outputs because you're using the help of AI along the way and you're not sitting there looking at blank screens. You can, I always say, I like to start at 90%. I can get the AI to give me a huge start, and then I get to finalize, professionalize, polish that last part of it. And it really ends up being you get a lot more done and you get a lot higher quality work. And the more you know how to leverage that tool of AI, you know, I'm probably doing 9 of my 10 steps of that. You may be doing 7 of your 10 steps of that. And everybody else is doing 0 of their 10 steps like that. So, yes, I implore you all to start using AI now.
Or start using it, get serious about it, be curious. You have to
Yes.
be curious. But here's the thing that I feel may work against some people, and this may be a little controversial. I I think this plays into folks that are probably more bent towards work than not, that like enjoy it because
Yeah.
a lot of this is associated with work. Yes, you can use AI in your personal life and do fun things. I've been doing fun things for the shelter with their social posts and everything, but for the most part, I'm using it at work. And I'm super curious how it can amplify my ability to impact change for my business and for my clients. And it's that curiosity and drive that keeps me going. If you don't have that, I do feel like it puts some people at a disadvantage. It's going so fast and you just don't feel that push to like stay ahead of it. It's kind of like a moving fast train and it's just moving right by.
Absolutely, and it's a very intimidating fast train moving by. We can't forget we're in it every day, so we think differently until we step out of our own heads and look at it, but it is still very intimidating complexity for a lot of people. I'm sure that there is a big component of those people that have not yet tried it just because they don't think they're gonna know how to even use it, and that's not the case. You can go into just starting out, you can go into ChatGPT and just talk to it like a friend or a person or ask it to teach you something like the most basic things, just so you can get a feel of it. You can get a sense of, I don't need to be, I don't have to have a PhD in computer science to be able to use this. So you just start building that comfort and you get a response. You're like, well, I wonder if I change this, and you get a little bit different response and it might suggest something. You're like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. Let me explore that." And that's how it grows. And like you said about curiosity, it's fantastic for the curious folks too, because if you have something you want to learn about, you don't have to think to yourself, well, I'm going to have to dedicate a week to be able to learn this. You can type in a prompt and you can learn about it in 30 seconds. So
So,
all the, all the reasons are out there for people to jump in and give it a try.
right. People, we are imploring you. Implore, implore. All right. Well, our next topic is us using Gen AI in like real time, something we're doing right here, right now at Marketri. We have a project name for it and we call it Project Cockpit. I know that sounds like a little bit of a strange term, but I will explain the origin of that name. So, at our company, on every client account, you have 2 people, the pilot, the co pilot. Pilot has a little bit more experience usually than the co pilot, but it's like flying a plane. So, Project Cockpit has evolved because, especially for our co pilots, there is tactical work that they do in their work streams that we've already started to automate, say content creation with agents. And so we actually are creating an entire team of sub agents that will start to do the work of some of these co pilots, which will then free them up to work across more client accounts and think more strategically instead of doing tactical work. So, we've all heard about AI is likely going to replace a lot of the tactical work that anybody does in white collar work. And I do believe that's true. And so we're leaning into that trend. At the same time, we've started Marketri Academy. starting with strategy sessions, and we're doing more, leaning into more AI training so that we are at the same time upskilling our workforce. We have no intention of letting any of our co-pilots go. That is not the point of Project Cockpit. But the point is, we want to be able to add more clients over time without necessarily adding to our headcount. And I believe that I heard in the Marketing AI Institute, it put out a survey that was conducted on marketing talent with 25 or so really prominent CMOs and CGOs, and they were talking about that is their plan is to continue to grow, but not continue to massively add to their headcount. So we're very consistent with that trend and what we've been reading. And so we wanted to showcase a little bit of what Project Cockpit looks like visually, in part because we want to share it with you, but also in part because we want to document the journey of basically coding, upskilling, training, doing the change management all in time for MACON, October of 2026. And we would like to be able to present how this journey has evolved. So, Brady, I'm going to let you take folks through the visual of Project Cockpit.
Yeah, and just to note up front, you put this together. You did all of the research, worked with Claude, going back and forth, determining what we wanted to include, what our goals were, how we were going to accomplish them. Worked with Claude to get a project down, a project plan overview, and then even created this artifact or this. It looks like a website, but in Claude it's called an artifact. And you did this with Claude as well, and it looks beautiful. And so,
Oh,
all you people that are afraid to try stuff, this is the kind of stuff that you can do very quickly and easily and efficiently if you give Claude or any AI a chance here. So, looking at Project Cockpit here, as Deb mentioned, we have multiple agents. They all cover a different branch of marketing, and so what we will do is we will have, as you can see at the top, we have a master co-pilot, and that's kind of the orchestrating agent. So the sub-agents below, as you can see, like we have Connie and Scout and Dash, they each do a specific type of task. So Connie is content creation, Scout is intelligence, Dash is analytics, and we have 6 others that handle all the rest of the areas that we wanted to cover. Those all roll up to the control of the master co-pilot. And so as the human co-pilot, what we envision is you will be able to go into this app, into your cockpit, so to speak, and you will be able to work with your AI assistant, the master co-pilot, to really accomplish any of the tasks that are in the co-pilot role's responsibilities. So all of the content, all of the research, all of those types of things, all being handled by specifically trained agents, but you get to communicate with the master co-pilot. So you can basically say, I need to do a research report on our analytics, and it's going to know this is an analytics task. Let me call Dash because Dash is the agent that handles analytics. So behind the scenes, the master orchestrator will go and pass the information to the Dash sub agent. It will do its thing and return the information back to the orchestrator. And then the orchestrator, before it returns its response to you, it's going to kind of package what the information that it got back from Dash into a response that makes sense with the conversation that you're having with the master orchestrator. So the two agents are separate, but they're working together, and your master orchestrator is kind of like your liaison between the sub agents. So you always have this conversation going with your master co-pilot. And from there, we will connect tools such as Google Drive, Google Sheets, Slack, PowerPoint, all of these tools to do the last part of the automation. So if you want to like run a monthly report and have it pushed to your Google Drive, we would be able to set up a scheduled workflow with the end of it being connected to your Google Drive so that it could generate the file that you wanted and then go ahead and put it where it needs to go as well. So that's kind of like in a nutshell, an example of what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to take all of the feasible tasks that our co-pilot role does, and really accomplishing most of the legwork with AI and automation. But we have the human co-pilot in the mix, overlooking everything, putting the final polish on everything, making sure it aligns with brand voice, all of those things to put the final polish touches on it so that it's ready to be pushed out to the world. So we're driving towards efficiency, we're driving towards higher quality, we're driving towards a unified app where our co-pilots can really manage all of their day-to-day work.
Super exciting to think about because having owned an agency for 22 years, the common theme I've heard from most people that work for the company is, boy, I wish I had more time to think about this project. Sometimes you're so busy executing and doing that you don't feel like you're giving it all the thought that should be given or the strategic thinking required. And that's the beauty of this is now our co-pilots will have the time to really, along with their pilots, think about the projects that they're putting forth and be creative and be strategic. And when they're coming up with these briefs, say they want to put together a multi-channel campaign, they can really spend the time coming up with very detailed briefs and ideas and be creative and then feed that to the master co-pilot here. And then it might be using many subagents at the same time to do something like a multi-channel campaign where it might be email and landing page and content and all that good stuff. And they're able to spend that time thinking because they're not busy building everything out in HubSpot. So we're super excited about it. And for those folks, Maycon making their decision, um, we're already in the cockpit and we've turned the ignition on. Connie and Scout are live subagents. We are currently using them in our daily work streams. And so the rest of the subagents, along with the master co-pilot and some of the integrations Brady talked about, will be happening between now and October. We will be documenting our journey and we'll have a lot to share, not only from the technical aspect, but also from the people aspect and how this has gone as folks start to reimagine their roles here at Marketri. So we hope to see the Maycon people. And for all of other folks that are joining us today, this is all extremely possible. I mean, for us, it's very possible because we have Brady on staff and he is amazing. But this is well within reach for most mid-sized companies.
Absolutely. And all of those things that I said about the coding improvements and every model that comes out, that's what's going to make more and more people able to build things like this. So get in, learn it. It's you'd be shocked with the things that you can accomplish.
It's crazy. All right, so that's Project Cockpit, and that brings us to our third and last segment, which today we're going to just really talk about a use case, like a fun use case, something I did, something Brady did. And Brady, why don't you go ahead and start and talk about yours first?
So a couple days ago, I was on LinkedIn scrolling through, and I get, as I'm sure a lot of you do, I get a lot of influencer type posts that are teaching different things, very interesting things, maybe a certain way to prompt or a new tool, etc. But typically you have to um, connect with them, comment on their posts, wait for them to send it you the guide in the DM. So something caught my eye. I didn't want to go through that whole thing because by the time it got sent to me, I would have forgotten about it anyway. So what I decided to do was I went to Claude and I wanted it to kind of teach me about what the topic was. And you'll see when I tell you the prompt, but I didn't want to mess with getting it from that person. So I came to Claude. I said, I just saw this LinkedIn post pasted below about Google Knowledge Panel and how it leverages SEO for visibility and such. And basically I said, I don't want to connect with this person to get the guide from them. So I want you to do the research, go to the web, research the web, make sure it's up to date as of now, and put together a guide similar to what this person would be offering. And I want you to turn it into a couple page guide and a 1-page cheat sheet. And then I just simply, this is the caption from the LinkedIn post. It says Google Knowledge Panels can 10x your brand's visibility overnight and such. And, comment this if you want it. But I gave it just this basic information that was available in the caption and sent it off. And so it started searching the web, did all of its research, figured out what it wanted to put in the guide and all those things. And then it actually created the guide as a Word document, it didn't just respond with the information. It actually created this full stylized guide in Word doc structure. And it's really fantastic document. So from here, I could just download it like I did when I made this. But it ended up doing a 7-page guide and a 1-page cheat sheet. And it covers all of the topics that I could have wanted. I'm sure that this is more thorough than the guide that I would have gotten had I gone through the LinkedIn person. But this took about 2 minutes, maybe. I just, like I said, I one-shot prompted it, just told it, recreate this. And it turned it into this fantastic Word doc. And the style, like, I don't even know how to do some of these styles myself in Word, and it's doing it automatically.
Incredible.
And you can see at the bottom, it does the 1-page cheat sheet as well. And so I downloaded it straight from here. I added our logo and an image of what Google Knowledge Panels are, just because anybody that's interested, I wanted them to be able to know what we were actually talking about. But those are the only 2 things I did. And now if I wanted to, package this up and give it to anybody or whatever, it looks great. And all I had to do was just basically say, hey, let's cheat the system of LinkedIn so I don't have to give them my connection. And in a couple minutes, I'm good to go.
I bet yours is just as good as theirs is. And shoot that over to me. I'm very interested
Okay.
to about knowledge panels.
I will
That's
do.
awesome.
Yeah. I will
Love
stop
Claude.
quoting.
My use case also has a little bit of a Claude theme. So um, as I've talked about in many of my speeches over the past 6 months, that we are moving from people do searches and move to websites, and they might go to the resource section and check out blogs. That's dead. It's mostly because people don't know if the content's real or not. People can find whatever they want on ChatGPT or Claude. So they don't need to go hunt anymore, right? So if people are going to read someone's content, it's because they really want to hear their point of view. It's called the creator economy. So people are moving more towards following people instead of following companies and websites. So with that, I'm like, okay, well, I've been talking about it. I should be leaning into this more. And so I made a commitment about a month ago that I was going to up my LinkedIn posts. I used to post maybe a couple times a week. And so it became, I was going to post 6 times a week, every day but Sunday. And part of it was kind of daunting as a business owner. I'm pretty busy. And I was like, well, how am I going to do this? And I can't just do it. Like, if I'm going to do it, it's got to be my thoughts. It's got to be good. It has to be something people want to read. And so I started by going back and taking some of my favorite thought leadership pieces that I wrote. One of them had to do with the plight of the solo marketer. It's a very lonely existence. And I went into Claude, I uploaded my post, and I gave it some cues as to really like my voice and tone and really how I wanted to sound and come across that was authentically me, and asked it to create 5 series LinkedIn posts based upon this topic. And it did it so perfectly. And it even told me what order to post that. Post the second one first and the fifth one second. And sure enough, it was a topic that has always resonated, and these LinkedIn posts have been a hit. With that, it's made it really possible for me to kind of post every day. And I mix and match between pulling up some old thought leadership, daily inspiration. Today it was, Alyssa Liu winning the gold. So I do mix up kind of what I put there, but AI has made it possible for me to be a creator, have a voice on LinkedIn, and amplify myself, but it is me. It is me, and they're all of my thoughts. So it's taking kind of the best of the machine and taking the best of the human combined. And so far, for anyone who's interested and maybe thinking that they want to kind of grow their voice on LinkedIn, it's been a successful experiment. I have boosted my followers by close to 500 in a month and got a couple hundred new subscribers to my newsletter, and 2 new leads came in during that time period. So, a fair amount of success with just a short experiment.
Yeah, that's amazing. And for the people listening, you're seeing the evolving way that Deb is using AI. So she didn't just go to ChatGPT and say, I need a LinkedIn post.
Yeah.
She made sure that she had her brand voice set. She took an idea and used that as a strategy piece of, let me create something that is traditionally like this, but I want it infused with this topic, and that creates a whole different perspective on something. And I think that those are the things in this world of dead internet theory where everything is going to be AI generated stuff. That's the creative part that you have to stand out. We didn't lose the need for creativity. It just looks a little different.
It looks a little different. And if you're creative and have something to say, you can say a lot more of it with AI. That's for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, this concludes our episode of Candid Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you on the next edition. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Bye.